Hi, I'm Darshi, and this is something I've not actually done before at all. This is a tier list. I wanted to go over my opinions about all of the game's different healers. I've gone out and omitted any of the professions that don't have access to either group quickness or group alacrity, because those just really aren't going to get taken anywhere currently in the game's PvE things. If you find that you like heal Dragon Hunter like a lot, and you have two friends that really like playing a boon DPS, and that's just how you want to roll, I am not going to harsh that, but that's outside the scope of this because that's roll bloat. There are 19 professions in the game that currently do it, and I want to get straight into it. The way I'm kind of ranking all of these is off of three main criteria: the actual healing output they can provide, barrier, and I guess condition cleanse kind of loop into this. How do you actually prevent or deal with damage that's incoming? The boon output. Any of these builds need to be providing might, quickness, or alack. They need to do fury, regen and prot to keep people alive. Swiftness is a must. Things like vigor are going to be really helpful, especially for a decent handful of builds. And you start to go into some of the more niche boons out there, like, does it provide resistance? If you're at a fight where enemies can blind you, you're going to kind of want that. Something like that, right? If it can provide all of the necessary boons, it's functional. If it can provide more than that, it's great. If it can provide a lot of them a lot of the time, exceptional. Then you're looking at utility stuff. Can it reflect projectiles? Can it handle lots of needed stability or Aegis? Can it handle group mobility with teleports? Is it able to do extra stuff that the group wants? That all stated, I've got them at sort of a random order here, and we go. Mechanist. Mechanist is a functional middle-of-the-road healer for the most part. It does everything you'd want it to do. It does everything you'd want it to do pretty okay at the same time. And it's got a couple shortcomings, like you have prot uptime that's being kind of stingy, and there's a lot of ways around it, ways to deal with it. It just kind of works. It's strong as a kiting healer. If you, like, stay back from your group to do something, you can use a short bow skills and the mech itself in order to keep supporting the group while you're doing that. Its actual healing is okay. The barrier from the mech helps out a lot with this. The boons itself, it doesn't have a lot of unique stuff. It doesn't have any like resistance or resolution, for example, but its overall boon suite is pretty good. And as an engineer, you've got a couple different utility items buried in kits, or just available on a couple useful utility skills that really help out here. So it just kind of sits middle of the road. It is a perfectly fine healer. It's totally balanced, as all things should be. Very good contender for just what healer balance should look like mostly. I would look at its stability access, because that's pretty rough, but that's about it. Tempest. Tempest is an easy A right now, especially. It did receive a new playstyle with Elemental Bastion recently. Because of that, it is extremely easy to engage with it. It's really, really free-flowing. Aside from the earth and fire overloads, you're not required to do any more of those. You can freely water overload if you want. You're not doing it for alacrity reasons. You'd be strictly doing it just for, healing purposes. The point here is it's got 600 AoE healing and alacrity from its Grandmaster that has alacrity attached to it, Elemental Bastion now. Beyond that, Tempest has always had high healing, and it's gotten more over the years. It does a lot of things you'd want a healer to do. It's got a unique group down prevention mechanic on its elite skill, which doesn't actually come up that often, but when it does, it's very, very nice to have. It does a lot of things really well. It's extremely approachable. It's just kind of a workhorse right now. It's just pretty powerful. It does a good job. What does not currently is Deadeye. Deadeye grants quickness. It does it every time you press the F2, steal time. Beyond that, it doesn't really have that much working out for it. Now, you do have a scepter. You do have the scepter you took from Spectre, as long as you've got Secrets of the Obscure. You're giving Prot and Might with that, and a lot of Barrier. There are Shadow Arts traits that are helping you provide healing, some extra boons like that. There's more Prot in there from Dark Aura. You're able to get some I believe enough regeneration out with the 3 skill and with the trait line. The build functions. You'll get full might, you'll get fury, you'll get quickness, you'll get regen and prot, and you'll have vigor. And that's kind of where this ends. If anything gets through the barrier you're doing, there's not much after that. And the utility pretty much is just having high CC with a spear you can swap to. There are places this comes up, there aren't that many. I would steer away from this build. Personally, there's just not a lot going for it, and it would need a lot of help to get there. A build that's much stronger right now, Willbender. Willbender's doing great. If you want to play a Healed Guardian, I would actually start here. It's very simple. The skills are good. You could start with a simple setup. Where this build really shines is it's got a ton of utility in swapping weapons. You're not really tied down to any one weapon set. They've all got pros and cons, so what you can kind of do is pick the one that's got the thing you really, really want in any given scenario and run with it. There are places I've taken a healing scepter to just to immobilize things. Its healing is strong. It's a guardian. It's never really going to struggle with that. The boon output is also totally fine. Nothing super huge to write home about when it is up against something like Firebrand, which we'll get into later, but it works pretty good. You have access to resistance still with the Spear 5. You have everything you could really need. The resolution uptime of the build is a little low compared to like a Firebrand, but all in all, very well-rounded build. Has a lot of, swaps that are good for a bunch of different things. Highly recommended. If you haven't tried it out, it's pretty fun. Scrapper. A tier. So, in A tier, I'm pretty much putting anything that's going to be the best at some specific thing at the very least. There is no other build in the entirety of Guild Wars 2 that has access to this much super speed. On top of all of that, it is just very good healing, lots of cleanse, and everything else is pretty much just the average. It's just good. Your boon coverage is good. You don't have a couple of them, but all the ones that you don't have, the ones you don't need. It works really well, and then has the super speed cherry on top that is extremely nice to have on mobile fights. Druid is also going to go into the A tier for the same reason, and I'm going to put it pretty much right up at the top of it. If you have seen a break bar and then seen it gone away, and then checked who did it, it is probably going to be a Druid if it was a healer. Druid has access to some of the highest CC per second in the game. Multiple sources of either instant cast CC, very quick cast CC, or CC on the pet, read also CC that happens without you having to cast anything, are really strong here. On top of this, it's just a well-performing heal build that has always done well and always had a place in the game. Because it used to be the only healer, it had more or less really cemented how it wants to be played at certain encounters. If you're at Veil Guardian, you know what a Druid's supposed to do there. You're taking Glyph of Tides and you're pushing away Seekers so your group has room to breathe. If you're taking a Druid to Soulless Horror and somebody else isn't already doing this, you are playing push. You've slotted a longbow and you're going to handle TDs. The list goes on for quite a while. Druid was the only healer for a long time. Because of this, it's just a really, really solid setup, and I was very much tempted to put it S tier. It does have a couple drawbacks that are going to pull it back. There are places in the game where Druid is unable to function because it can't generate enough Celestial Force, Celestial Avatar. Astral Force is the name of the resource. Blech. Because of that, there are places where something else can actually be a little bit stronger. It also doesn't have great access to stability. It's pretty good. And the Aegis is reliant on the pet casting a skill, which can be problematic sometimes. Next up is going to be Untamed, and this is going to be my first C tier. Untamed has access to a lot of the same tools that Druid does. The problem is that all of the tools it doesn't have access to that Druid did are really good support ones, and it does not replace them with anything helpful. Untamed does get ambushes. Ambushes are good. They also lock you into 2 weapon sets, which is a little bit of lost flexibility. And it doesn't have any stability on the class at all. Aside from that, it's pretty much got the same boon suite as Druid. It just does not have access to the same overall utility mountain that Druid is. On top of all that, while it's still a functional healer with good healing output and will keep a group alive, you might notice a couple of your teammates getting blindsided by mechanics. That is because you have 2 different AoEs that do not get called by ally settings. Or at least not the good setting. One of those is perfectly okay to see through. Enveloping Haze, the pet AoE, is like... I hear people complain about it, I think it's fine. The problem is... Solar Brilliance, the staff ambush. That is happening once every 10 seconds, roughly. Lasts for about too long and is just unable to be seen through by yourself or anybody else. You could sort of make out what's happening underneath it if you really squint, really stare at it, but it is difficult to work with. If this gets more stability, it goes up a tier instantly, though. Spectre. Easy A, also. So Spectre is pretty cozy where it's at right now with the changes. In Shroud, it just has all the tools it wants to work. It no longer has quickness-reliant alacrity production because it's on 1 cooldown instead of all of them in Shroud. It's gotten even better. It's gotten even better quality of life across its whole kit. It's not even like tempted to stealth its allies anymore. All across the board, it's just having a really good time. Its utility as well is just kind of expanded even more. It's got decent tools. You got group resistance, portals, decent amount of projectile destruction as well if you look for it. Pretty strong build. I'm a huge fan of it, and I think more people should try it out. The only thing you really have to look out for is if you're healing with this, you might end up tanking. And there are a couple encounters where tanking with a shroud mechanic can be really, really frustrating. I think it's fun as heck to work around. I think it's one of the most fun things in the world. I understand that I am an outlier with that, though. Bladesworn. So Bladesworn's kind of suffering as well. Bladesworn still has a decent amount of warrior heal utility to work with, and it does have Lush Forest, which allows it to reduce its cooldowns so it can cast them more often. The problem is that Gunsaber has no support attached to it whatsoever. The only healing you do with the Gunsaber is actually hitting people with Dragon Trigger, causing your trait line to go off. Aside from that, it's basically just recharging your support cooldowns for 5 seconds at a time so you can use them when you go back to staff. As a gameplay loop, that's not super great, and that means that there are periods of low support time where you're trying to get back to the high support uptime bits. It also just doesn't have some of the things that the Warhorn set had. So you're missing out on some cleansing, some swiftness, vigor. You can't get the vigor back. You can get the swiftness out of a relic. The vigor's just gone. So the build's got drawbacks. It doesn't claw them back. And its unique upsides aren't really paid off because it has locked utility slots, so you can't use other things in those spots to really, really take advantage of it very well. So that's going to sit in C tier. Catalyst? Catalyst is great. Catalyst is phenomenal right now. If you have not played Heal Catalyst, I implore you to give it a go. As long as you can hit stuff with things, as long as you can put skills onto stuff, it is not hard. You go through your attunements, you use all your F5s, the F5s hit stuff, you get energy back. If there is a single add, all of your energy comes back like instantly, otherwise it still comes back. And you just kind of vibe. All of your boons are coming out of you at 900 radius, just about. Very few things aren't like super kite range stuff. Because you have all of your boons in a big AoE that you can put very far away, this is the best kiter in the game. Nothing else does it better. And it's got a bunch of different like LE utility things that are actually pretty nifty for kiting as well. It is the build I gravitate to the most if I'm kiting Doom, for example, because you could just throw all of your spheres on Doom and lightning flash away to a green and put nobody, including yourself, at any danger whatsoever. Its healing is good. It has better boon access than Tempest does. It's got a little bit less utility since most of the augments are selfish focused. But altogether, it is a strong package and I recommend it a lot. Vindicator. So Vindicator has a couple of problems right now. The biggest one is the way it gives might. You have to sit in alliance stance, mashing F3 off cooldown in order to get and keep 25 might throughout the rotation. You have to hit that flip like 3 times in the opener to hit 25 without help. And then what you get for it once you've done that is a heal build that's really, really scared of switching weapons because it might drop might if you do it. And a Revenant heal build with less upshot just in general than it's like it's trickier to play since you're like juggling dodges and all of your other skills and trying to make sure you're not like forgetting to do something or spending a dodge you needed to dodge an actual mechanic that does come up. And it's just got less overall utility than some of the other ones. It does have boons they don't have access to. If you need to be a heal Revenant and you need to give your group vigor, it is your only option. So there are things it's doing. It's just not doing them very well, and that's not enough of an upside to really get it out of the lower tiers of healer. And this is where I kind of show my hand. Chronomancer, S tier. Chronomancer is running the show with healers at the moment a little bit. Its healing is fine. Like, nothing is super strong with the way Chronomancer's working right now as a heal as just like in raw healing, it just kind of works. It does healing skills and the group stays alive, and that's kind of it. Where it gets really, really strong is with the fact that it has so much utility power and does not really have to pay for much of it. It's got a ton of open slots. It can use those open slots to do just about anything you'd hope a healer could. Like, it's got bad super speed access and needs to hug its group to get boons. So, like, Scrapper and Catalyst have something on it. That's it. Everything else on this list, it just does that job better. Period. Ripping boons, forget about it. Like, you're taking an Untamed, maybe a Mechanist can have, or a Scrapper could throw a mine at it, and a Bountiful Theft on a Deadeye. Like, there aren't a lot of options for that. Crota is swimming in them. There's the list of them goes on and on and on. I made a half-hour video about it. I'm not gonna lay them all out here. Its boons and its healing are totally fine, and then also and would otherwise what would normally be just a perfectly fine, okay Mechanist level healer, gets to be the only healer that can hit 25 stab on its own, and also, you know, teleport, feedback, all of the other shit. Herald. Herald is fine. Herald works. Herald presses upkeep skills as a Revenant, a thing you like to do generally, and gives all of the boons that it gives in a 600 radius, and it just kind of sits there and vibes. You have to attach a tether to an ally once to hit 25 might, and then from there you just kind of do stuff. As long as you stay relatively near your group for the rest of the encounter with, like, okay downtime management, you are fine. This is the easiest healer in the game to play, because all you need to do is make sure the arrow points left most of the time. It's got a couple things it suffers from in terms of actual overall raw power, because it doesn't have a couple of boons. Like, it doesn't have any resistance, resolution, vigor is missing, stability is just rough to apply as a herald, because you have to either drop one of the good legends to take Chalice and give good group stab, or you have to start relying on energy expulsion, a notoriously, like, if you cast your skills in the wrong order, it doesn't give stab. This is a perfectly functional heal build that just does not reach the same levels as other things if you are actually trying to get good value. But, like, if you're just trying to just be a healer and have it work in a big area, this is where you would go for it. It works. It's really easy to get the value out of it. But the value is just kind of there. Harbinger. Harbinger is going to be our other resident of D tier, and it's far below Deadeye, I think. So, Harbinger, this patch officially achieved having a single stability button on Staff 5. That is it. Well, okay, the elite skill technically gives Step 2 on a 60-second cooldown. That's hard to, congratulate them for. Harbinger feels like it should have a heal trait line inside that, like, on the middle row of the Harbinger line, but you look at it and it just gives boons and some prot. And the protection isn't enough to keep you from having to run a full bar of, like, 4 elixirs and maybe a flex slot if you feel like having really bad prot, like, overcap. and then having like really poor value support skills because elixirs just give boons and do nothing else for your allies. And then your Shroud also has no group support except for the Shroud 4 triggering one of your blood magic traits. It is a rough life if you try to play a heal Harbinger. I have done it. I think the playstyle, if it were, would be good if it actually did anything. Do not subject your groups to this. It is painful. It is so much worse than the other options. The healing output of this build is just bad. Like, nothing about being a Harbinger makes you heal your group any more than you would have otherwise, except for, like, regen on the heal elixir. And beyond that, if you... Oh, gosh. If you leave Shroud while you have the pulses from Shroud 4 up, it actually cancels them. So it's also bugged to do even less healing than it normally would. Don't play this. What I think you should play, if you have not, is Heal Berserker. It's no surprise that I'm a little biased about this one, but I will explain why I put it there. Heal Berserker is providing 11 boons at full uptime, and it is not doing so with any difficulty. You just continue doing the same basic get adrenaline, spend adrenaline, sometimes you swap weapons and press horn skills loop, and you will maintain 11 boons if you have 2 banners on your bar. If you don't need those boons or you need something else, it's okay to drop one of those and get like 80% resolution uptime and have a little less stability. If you don't need the stability, you can just take a bunch of extra healing from Vigorous Shouts instead of Martial Cadence. You get a ton of just raw healer value in this package. The actual healing per second of the build is really, really high. It's extremely tanky. This is one of the builds out there that I have accidentally survived tanking Soulless Horror with 1,000. That is no additional toughness. It is just really, really good in just raw healer value. It is also able to maintain permanent group stability. It's also able to maintain permanent group Aegis. Usually Aegis gets stripped if you get hit, but if you don't, that's permanent too. It's doing a lot of really just raw value good things. And it's got decent utility on the side. The CC is decent. There are just a couple really nice things to have in there. You can take a War Banner. War Banner is one of the best revive skills in the game. It's not as good as Druid utility, Chrono utility. It's not anywhere near, but it deserves this spot just on pure healer power alone, I think. Renegade is functioning perfectly fine. And better than Herald, I would believe. Not enough to get it into A, but it's good. What does it do? It is able to heal more than a Herald can. It's able to provide more boons than a Herald can as well. It will provide resistance and resolution to its allies. The resistance can actually be permanent uptime. So can it also provide stability on both of its legends now. Unlike Herald, you can provide stability using Darkrazor's Daring in the Kala stance. There is a way to do permanent stability with Renegade. It's got better barrier access than Herald. Not better barrier than Vindicator, funny enough. It's just a decently solid package. It's got more difficulty attached to it. because you have skill order you care about on both your legends now. Uh, it has finickier might for sure. Hitting an enemy matters because one of your might sources is tied to it. Well, two of them if you count auto attacks. And there is a couple of just weird things about it. It's a revenant also, so they get to suffer in the lack of swappable utility skills since you have to like throw them all in or out together. But it is a perfectly functional package, and I think the best heal revenant currently in the game, if you practice with it anyway. Firebrand. This shouldn't really surprise too many people. Firebrand is really, really strong. There is a reason this thing was the only healer accepted in Fractals for years. Nothing about Firebrand has gotten weaker since then. It's actually gotten stronger. Firebrand no longer has to go into a tome and wait for the tome to come back. It just has to wait for whatever skill it wanted to cast to come back. The longest cooldowns on those are like 30 seconds for Unbroken Lines and stuff like that. Firebrand has really good healing. It actually has access to a skill that makes people take 33% more healing from anything for a little while. Dumping that on your group is extremely strong. Doing that right before healing pressure so that you can just juice your entire team is really, really good. Firebrand is actually able to maintain all of the boons that Berserker is as well. It has to do more effort to get them. You have to take certain traits. You have to start performing certain actions and spending pages on CC to do it, but it can be done. It also has access to some really strong utility stuff. Reflex and projectile destruction in spades, really. It has teleports either to enemies or allies. It's got some okay res power in there. Very, very good healing from utilities as well that you can swap in or out depending on what encounter you're at. Swapping weapons occasionally, although I would do this way more on a Willbender than this thing. And tomes are insanely valuable. The amount of just free cleanse you get as a Firebrand just for having selected that specialization is gigantic. The fact that you always have a stun break because Stalwart Stand in your Courage Tome just is a stun break. Resistance is in there as well. You could taunt things for CC. It's a lot. Now, there's a lot to memorize there. There's a lot of Firebrands who play poorly and actually just straight up ignore certain boons or certain skills they should be casting. Not everyone is going to play this like an A-tier Firebrand, but if they know what they're doing, they will. Scourge. It functions. It functions well. Scourge is good. Scourge healing is good. A lot of barrier means that the relatively low healing that Necromancer has otherwise is perfectly functional. It got more on a staff, so there's burst heal in there as well. The cleanse is really, really strong. If you have a heal Scourge, you get a condition and it's just gone in a second. Because of just they have so many different things that give barrier, and literally every single barrier application just pops a condition off. Necromancer is actually pretty good at utility stuff as well. CC is good. They got projectile destruction. They are one of the few healers out there that are just really easy to take a boon rip on. There's just a free swappable like util slot, and it's just yay, corrupt boon, done. They function. They give good boons. There's some that they're missing, but it's perfectly it's a perfectly usable boon suite. They're good. They're just solid. You could use them, and it'll be fun. And another new kit on the block, Mirage. So Mirage has basically always existed in Chrono's shadow because Chrono could give alacrity as well. Mirage had a ton of reworks done to it on this latest patch, and as a result, one of those is able to give alacrity on any of its ambushes, meaning that rifle as a weapon that grants alac has been unlocked, as has every other weapon on the class, meaning if you wanted to take a scepter and a shield to give a little more might and generate more clones when you're not on rifle, that's available. That's the setup I've been using. If you wanted to take a staff anyway, you can still do it. You don't really need it for the boons on the staff ambush, but you could totally use it that way. It's just playable. It's just playable, and it works. The weird part is, it actually does one thing better than Chrono. Despite not having improved alacrity, so your cooldowns are a little slower, you have something Chrono can't and won't have. You've got Effervescence. The rifle ambush is a giant heal. Humongous heal. It's okay, actually. It's good. It's good, and you're doing it with like a 1 second cooldown between casts. So you just ambush a ton in rifle, and no one can die. When you are playing a heal Mirage, you can just sit there in rifle, ambushing all the time, and output basically all the boons you need to. Shatter, get more clones. Shatter again, reduce your shatter cooldowns, keep the healing going. It works. As a result of all of those changes, it's just a functional healer now. It went from like D to B tier in a single patch. If you've got heal Chrono gear, it's the exact same setup. Give it a go. Dan put it up on the Snowcrow site. I like the way he has it together. Anyway, that's all of everything I'd consider a healer in Guild Wars 2 at the moment. Some good, some bad. And about where I'd put them on a power scale at the moment. Thanks for watching.